Are you seeing something here? You notice that I can ask any random question I want to, and he knows something about it. This is what freaks me out about this guy. I feel like acid. You know how there's like acid rock, acid jazz.
Yeah.
And I really feel one of my purposes in life is to carry on the butt form of everything.
Like I grew up with classic rock radio and all that stuff, but it kind of starts to fall off. You know, when I was a kid and listening to that radio, it would go from like late 50s to real early 90s, maybe just the late 80s, where they would play songs from. So after that, the stuff I got to is a little hazy because I got really into Radiohead, and that just sent me off into Bjork and hip hop and all the other types of music. And then in rock music, like I guess the next era would be like the Strokes and like Arctic Monkeys.
Yeah.
I never really.
So put a date.
Early 2000s was Strokes kind of continuing, and like Jet, Lenny Kravitz, that kind of thing. Yeah. People probably find him derivative, but I don't. And I think cool.
When he did American Woman.
That was cool. I've always thought that song should go harder, and he did it. So I'm glad. I'm a big fan of. I don't want to get too heady, but I really do think that like time and everything like that, like it's like a waterfall. You got to just go with it if you want anything to happen that's good. If you want to try to fight the waterfall and do stuff that nobody's asking you to do and the song isn't asking you to do, then you're just going to end up with something that's like, what is this? But if you just go with it and you like the song itself has things that it wants to say out of whatever. It's a bed of dirt, and the song or the seeds, I don't know, but it'll grow in the way it does. Hi, Ruben. This is Ruben.
You mean
you remember him?
Hello.
Hey, Ruben.
How's it going?
Good to see you, my brother.
Good to see you.
You weirdo. Why do you keep touching me?
I don't know, man.
I'm gonna be honest. Like you mentioned, like late '80s pop and all that stuff, and like I've been on a Wham kick very heavily recently. I listened to like the Wham greatest hits as on the way here. Like that's where my brain has been. I don't think it's gonna show up in the song. It might, but
well,
that's a thing, and they're great. George Michael's awesome. For me, that line is very blurred with the way I work. All of it is, and I don't do any mapping or anything. I really should. But, like, a lot of my songs get very complicated, and I just have this crazy Ableton project that nobody can decipher but me, and, like,
the map's in your head sometimes.
Yeah, the map is very much in my head, and so, like, the pre, the present, and the post kind of all mix together on the way I work just, like, by myself. But I do think that there's a lot of merit to that structure of, like, okay, we get this done, then we have that. As for like mixing, like I know some people define that as like you get all the tracks down with all the effects that you want, then you mix. But for me, mixing is like I always am just kind of mixing on the fly and doing things as they come.
Yep.
If you notice something that needs to change, it's hard for me at least to ignore it for too long before I'm like, okay, I have
it's
to
driving
fix
me
this
crazy.
thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Even if it would be normally post-production for most people.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just, I guess, your personal workflow. It's up to you, really.
Right.
If you're working on it by yourself.
Because mixing is very much an in the thing for me. And like if I hear a thing that like, okay, that's got to have a bunch of reverb and a delay and blah blah blah, or let's reverse that or whatever. Like I always go back to the Beatles, and my favorite song of all time. Like everybody asks, what's your favorite song? And usually that's a terrible question to ask anybody because like how are you supposed to choose? But I usually default to Tomorrow Never Knows by the Beatles because it's got this great, scratch track kind of just their backing of drums, bass, and I'm pretty sure that's it. And then they have just this crazy tape loop thing that like all 4 of them were on the mixing board at the same time. They had tapes running around the whole studio, in the upstairs and the downstairs. And the thing that you hear on the record is a thing that they performed live, and it was live mixing, and they couldn't have done it the same way twice. Like you hear other takes of it, and it's completely different. And like that's what I love, just the stuff that you can't change about things. Like if you just accidentally bounce a thing, and you know, as long as it doesn't sound like crap, you know, just leave it in there. They didn't choose to make butt rock. That's just the way they turned out.